My scripts always deal either with twins or duality or a doppelganger, something like that, because that's my brand, that's my wheelhouse. I know what it's like to lose something you didn't even know you had.
This is A Joyful Rebellion, the podcast that explores that moment you realize the life and success you worked so hard to create didn't come with all the fulfillment you thought it would. I'm your host, James Walters, and I want you to be the author of your own story. Each week, I connect with people who inspire bold answers to the question, what do I do now to create a life I love? If you're ready to start answering that question for yourself, you're in the right place. So let's start a joyful rebellion. Laurie Kirk spent decades living with an unexplained loneliness until in her 50s, she uncovered why. She was a womb twin survivor, and the brother she never knew she'd lost had shaped more of her life than she realized. Laurie is a wife, mother of 5, actor, and now author. Writing started as a way to process what she'd found out, then turned into her first novel, Baby Marvin, a psychological horror thriller set in 1960s America. We get into what reinvention looks like once the kids are grown, the forgiveness work she's done with a father who left when she was young, and why she believes everyone has a story worth telling, even if someone else has to write it down for them. Laurie Kirk, thank you for being here on A Joyful Rebellion today.
Thank you for having me. I love the name. Rebellion.
Rebellion, it's all about the rebellion. I want to talk to you about the third act. This is something I'm a little fascinated with just in my life and a lot of the guests I talk to. We're all of a certain age. We've lived a couple of different lifetimes. And I had a guest on here sometime this past year, and she kept talking about the third act because after you get out of your 40s, you're past midlife, and you've done that first act of your life where you're a good kid, you go to school, you do the school thing, you do the graduate from school thing, then you get into your career, and then you start that second act where you start the family. And you yourself, you've raised 5 kids, and hopefully, if you get the chance, you phase into that third act where, okay, I've done those things. Now, who am I? What am I? Where do I go from here? And we talk a lot about that on this podcast. And sometimes the rebellion is figuring out, okay, who am I going to be now? And you've decided to do some really interesting stuff. So I want to talk about that today. So thanks for coming on.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. I'm going to push back on one thing, though, which I need to do at the beginning of a conversation.
That's cool.
The third act, I think there's more than 3 acts.
Okay.
Because I know that a lot of writers use 3-act structure. I don't.
Okay.
I was taught by Jacob Kruger, and he kind of leans into the idea of 7-act structure.
Okay.
Which, of course, is just breaking your piece down into more little facets. So I would say I'm in my 4th act of 7.
Okay. Right on. I like it. That's why I love having these conversations, because each person I talk about this with brings a completely different perspective to it. So you've got a lot of life experience that I don't have. And today I want to talk to people listening, because so often the subject that comes up when I'm talking to a friend, when I'm talking to someone who's listened to the show, and they say, yeah, I hear you talking about all this cool stuff people are doing after their kids leave the nest. And yesterday I had a conversation with someone, and we were talking about identity, and we were talking about maybe men more than women like cling to whatever their professional identity was when they say, I used to be a doctor, or I used to be an attorney. If you meet them out and they're retired, and we're like, no, forget what you used to be. What are you doing right now? What are you interested in? How are you bringing value to yourself and people around you? And you decided that after your kids left the nest, you were going to start writing. You were start telling stories. What prompted that?
It started with acting, because I started acting about 10 years ago, something I'd wanted to do my whole life. So I finally got out there and put myself out there and, did some plays and did some things like that as part of my journey after children. And which I highly recommend. I highly recommend doing the kid thing because all those years, some people think, oh no, but I'm young now. It's like, yeah, yeah, use that for the kids. They need the energy. But then once you're past that, the stuff you've learned, the things you've gone through, it makes the creative life so much richer. But the catalyst for the writing career came when I discovered that I'm a womb twin survivor and also a medium. I was working with a life coach who I adore, Sonia Satra. She's amazing. And we were just working through different things. She's very much in touch, uses mind body. Like if you are having a feeling or an emotion, where do you feel it in your body? And you explore that sort of thing. And we were doing a guided meditation for just something random. During the meditation, I was confronted with a very young version of myself who was running away from me, which I found very odd, but I caught up with her. Now, this is all very woo-woo, so hopefully your audience is open-minded. I
tend
caught
to
up.
be.
I caught up with her, and she was afraid. She didn't want to speak to me. She said, there's something you don't know. Nobody knows. And I was at first very, I still get the chill bumps now. I was afraid. I was afraid something bad had happened to me, abuse of some kind that I wasn't aware of. But then I said, no. She said, nobody knows. So if someone had abused me, that person would obviously know. So I just sort of took that, did some meditation of my own, sat with it, and it just came to me in a flood. I'm a womb twin survivor. I had a twin brother who died. And that whole experience, I had always suffered from this profound loneliness, crazy loneliness that increased as I got older, which was strange to me. And even my daughter, my second oldest, always said, Mom, it is so weird how you are this lonely, because I know other only children, they're not like this. And I said, I don't know, man. I can't tell you. But once I found out I wasn't supposed to have been alone and that I had a twin brother, boom, the loneliness was gone. It was like just this whole door opened of healing for me, because now I know what I am, what I lost before I was even born. And I can deal with that now, because loss, death, we all have to deal with that at some point. But I didn't even know I had had a loss. So I started dealing with it. And as I learned that I could communicate with him, I also learned I could communicate with both of my parents, who my father died when I was like 12 and my mother died about 20 years ago. And I thought, this is really weird. Maybe I should write it down. And my daughter's like, go for it, write it down. What's the harm? So I just started writing about spending time with these three ghosts and the healing that's coming from it. And the more I wrote, the funnier it was. I thought, well, that's a coping mechanism, but it's also therapeutic, because I think we can make jokes when we're hurt and uncomfortable. But I turned it into something where I was creating and healing at the same time. So that was the first thing I ever wrote, was a TV pilot comedy about a woman who suddenly finds out she can communicate with ghosts and is living with them. So that started in 2021, 2022.
Okay. And then from there, you said it was therapeutic, but did you start to find that it helped you alleviate those feelings that you were having of loneliness, but also paired with that, did you start to get any answers of why you had no clue about this your entire life?
Well, the loneliness disappeared like flipping a switch.
Oh, interesting.
It was bizarre, because I can remember what that used to feel like, and it just doesn't feel that way anymore. Now I just feel like, yes, I've had a loss. And what I didn't realize was, for 55 years or however long it was, I was suffering with the loss, but not understanding. And the behaviors I have, I've worked with a womb twin survivor therapist. She specializes in this. And she's opened a lot of doors for me. It's like, oh, that's why I do that. That's crazy. Oh, that's why I do that. That's why I'm driven. You mentioned I have 5 kids, and that's a lot of kids. Subconsciously, I'm having the kids for myself and the ones he couldn't have. So often I'm just very driven, and I'm just go, go, go with things. And it's because and subconsciously trying to live two lives. Once you recognize, and other people, my poor husband, he's the most mellow, chill guy in the world. And I'm just like, bleh. So I said to him, he understands, he believes everything. He's had experience with the ghosts too.
Huh.
And so he's completely open to it. And it's like, oh, this is why I am this way. I don't think you have to go through life explaining or apologizing for every little thing you do, but just knowing, where's this coming from? I'll catch myself in a thought pattern or in a behavior, and I'll think, okay, I said, this is Kyle's fault. That's what it's a joke now. This is Kyle's fault because he's not here, so I'm acting like a crazy person right now. It's just been a lot of that. And my father, I was really abandoned twice. By the time I was 3, my brother had died, and then my dad walked out. And this was in 1969, and he was gay. And back then, he had no resource. My mother had no resource for support. That would have been put under the rug, just like, oh, it's just a divorce. We'll just leave it at that. I think didn't really know how to be a father in that circumstance, so he just kind of was out of my life. Came back in a few years later and then died when I was 12. And he's had a lot of regret. I feel that with him, and I've just tried to just lift up forgiveness. This whole experience has taught me you can forgive, start over with people who died in 1979.
Wow. That's a lot of, I guess, abandonment in the first couple of years of your life to
Crucial
deal with.
years.
And some of it you knew about, and you knew how to feel it, but at that age you don't know what to make of it exactly.
No, the internal dialogue is, I'm not worth anything. I'm not worth being here for. And my mother, she didn't cope well, died before her time because of lifestyle choices. It's like nobody was ever there for me. So I've always felt alone, like I can't count on anybody. And until I met my husband Mike and had the kids, I built my own support system.
Yeah.
I felt like I had to.
Now, how did that manifest when you had, because I'm the oldest of 5, and 5 is hella lot of kids. Yeah.
I love that.
Being the oldest, I got all those traits that people joke about. I got those control issues and all the good stuff, but I was looking after and managing little ones under me for quite a while, helping my mom. My mom was in over her head a lot of times, and I could sort of see that, but I kind of couldn't see the parts, because parents, now that I'm a parent, I know how good we are at shielding our kids from a lot of stuff, right? So a lot of the realities of the world, so to speak. But when it came your turn to be a mom, and you went from, so you said you were an only child growing up in your house. Yeah, so to speak. So you were the only child in your household, and then you have 5 kids. How did that experience growing up change the way you were a mom to your kids?
Oh, all growing up is like, I'm not doing what she's doing, not doing that, not doing that, not doing that. And my mom, I think the healing with her has been even more profound than my dad. Considering the time and the circumstances, I think she did the best she could.
Yeah.
But I did use her as a negative example of what not to do. And growing up, feeling so alone. And I was also just different than all the other kids. I was made fun of because of the way I looked. I was never felt part of anything, because I think subconsciously I've always kept people out because of the hurt I had gone through. But I said to myself, I'm not having just one child. I will not. Now I got married. I got divorced. I got married, had my 2 daughters, got divorced. Then I met Mikey, who I'm with now, and we had 3 sons. Almost from the second I had my first daughter, it's like, I got a plan for this next child. I can't let this child be alone. It was just this absolute certainty I was going to not let this child be alone. Like I said, unfortunately took a lot of the negative attributes of my growing up and just turned them on their head. And I managed to do it because a lot of times the way you grow up is what you do. Abused kids will abuse their kids. All these terrible things that you hate as a child, sometimes you grow up and do them. And there's a couple of them that I do. But I am aware of it and I try really hard. The kids have all turned out great and they all talk to me. So
there's something. Yeah.
I mean, I even have a set of twins. So I always say that we've healed the twin karma in the family because I gave birth to a set of twin boys.
Wow. That's really cool. I was thinking that in the back of my mind. How cool would it be if you had twins? But there you go. You did it.
Yeah, number 3 and 4 are twins.
Wow. How about that? I've got a question about, you mentioned you found out later in life that you're a medium, which means you can talk to people who have passed on in a completely different space with completely different, I guess, can't really call it sensory. What would you call it?
Looking back now, I've always been open. Mm-hmm. And one of the signs that you're a womb twin survivor, well, just one of them, is having that invisible friend as a child.
Okay.
Which I had. And now I know it was probably my brother. But I just grew up thinking, oh, that was just my invisible friend. And I think that we all experience things and just kind of wave it off. Oh, well, that was just something weird. You know, the hairs on the back of your neck go up. You think you hear something. You think you see something. I saw Kyle, my brother, in this house at least twice before I even knew he existed. I just saw him once go around a corner. I thought it was my youngest son. I was like, wait, there's nobody there. And then another time, he was just coming out of another door. And again, I thought it was Christopher. I've known for a while that there's something, and I've always believed in it as well. I was in Tombstone, Arizona, back in 2011. And my daughter and I, we were up in the Birdcage Theater. I don't know if you've ever been to Tombstone, but
I haven't.
Go.
Yeah?
Just go. Watch Kurt Russell, Val Kilmer
okay.
movie, and then go. It's a haunted town. It's an old West town. So we're up on top of the Birdcage Theater, and I'm just walking around, and all of a sudden, boom, dizziness, nausea. It's like, whoa. My daughter's like, are you okay? It's like, yeah, somebody just went by. Because it was just boom, but then it was gone. It's like somebody just went, woof. It's not something I work on improving or trying to cultivate. I just kind of deal with what I deal with. And if I'm trying to talk to the folks, I'll focus and really, really try to talk to them. But I can go someplace and feel like, yeah, something's going on, but I'm not.
You're not looking for it.
I'm not looking for it. And
yeah.
I do try to protect my energy because for every good spirit out there, there's some nasty folks. So.
Yeah,
or just people that want to come by, and it's like we don't need any visitors. Thank you.
Come by and say, "Hey, sell you a box of chocolates or something."
We're all full up here. Yeah.
Right. Well, the reason I asked that is because you found this out later in life, but it existed. That ability probably existed when you were a kid.
Oh yeah.
And you just didn't know what it was, didn't know what to call it, so you were a lot more sensitive to things that were going on around you. You were sensitive to what wasn't there just as much as what was there. And that probably showed up in your parenting style, but it's probably translating in a really interesting way into the stories that you're creating in your books and your screenplays right now. How do those things come in? Because it sounds like you've got a level of understanding that you may not even understand yourself, but it can translate into how the world works and how people can see themselves in the stories you write.
It's funny because I just did a little brief interview about advice to writers is how to find yourself in your story instead of putting yourself in your story. And now, obviously, the TV pilot is about my experience. So it's me, it's my story, it's my kids, and it's all that. But beyond that, I decided after that to write I said, I got to write a screenplay, a movie. So I wrote, I'll do horror. Somebody told me once that horror and comedy, they mesh very well. If you can write horror, you can write comedy and vice versa. So I said, I'll do horror. And so that's how Baby Marvin, this guy over here, came to be. I wrote a script I wanted to have a supernatural element. I wanted to have him dealing with the loneliness duality without giving anything away. Marvin's life starts to fall apart on his 18th birthday. It takes place in 1968, and everything starts to fall apart. He finds out he's been lied to his whole life, and he suffers some terrible losses. And his mirror image comes through into his world to help him deal with it and to find revenge. And once I was done with the book and everything, all of a sudden I was sitting here in this chair one day and I said, "Oh, I'm Marvin. Hello." I didn't know that. I'm Marvin. That's
Oh,
great.
no.
Okay.
Wow.
I mean, without the acts, although I have my moments, mentally. So that's what I mean by I found myself in Marvin. I just wrote about someone who was suffering, who had an absent father and a mother that wasn't capable. And I didn't even know I was writing about my own story. And then he finds this other part, this other piece, a doppelganger to help him healing process. So that's how that story came about. And that's the book that just came out in May, Baby Marvin.
Baby Marvin. That's cool because is this the first horror thriller style book that you've written?
Yeah, it was the
Yeah.
first horror screenplay I wrote. It was
Okay.
it started as a joke
Okay.
because my daughter, Eleni, she went to college. She's 30 now. And when we drove her up here to New York to go to college, and we were sitting around having breakfast, and we were just being silly and talking trying to talk in New York accents. Oh my God, what are we doing? Going to college. Oh my God. So then we're just being stupid. And so we gave everybody in the family an alternate name. It's like, oh, I'm Gladys, you're Blanche. And then my youngest son, Christopher, was Baby Marvin.
Okay.
Baby Marvin, the entertainer, because my son Christopher had done some stage shows and he was, had some talent. And so years later, I'm sitting here, 18 years later, and thinking, wow, what if we did a horror movie about a kid who was a child star, then, grew up and was a normal, healthy, wonderful member of the community, but stuff happened to him and he was pushed too far. What does that look like? So I just started playing with it, and I started playing with the idea of Baby Marvin and being a celebrity for a short period of time, and then becoming a person that essentially you fall in love with the guy in the book, and I believe most people are going to root for him, but he has to deal with so much. My idea is I want people like you, people like anybody in your audience to say, well, what would push me too far? Would I do what Marvin did? Yes, no, maybe. But yeah, like I said, it started out as a joke. So we just talk about it sometimes. It's like, oh my God, Baby Marvin. And now it's a book and it's what's going on?
That's great. That's how these things happen, though. I mean,
Yeah.
it's one of those things where a what if, and then a what if starts to scratch at you for a little while, and then like, oh, okay, let's answer that question, but that leads to more questions, and then next thing you know, you have a full-on thought on how these 7 acts are going to go. And how do you keep up with 7-act structure? Like
I don't, you know what? I don't do acts. I don't do,
Yeah.
I just write. I
Okay.
write a story. I don't worry about, oh, is this an act? Is this an act? I know I'm probably not supposed to say that. But any writers out there, just write. Just write your story. And, have a beginning, have a clear end. As long as I know where the story ends up, I'm good to go. And I don't worry about breaking it up into pieces. I just don't.
I want to talk about your experience living with ghosts and how that influenced your writing. And the thing that's been gnawing at me as we've been talking with that is if you are able to interact with them, you're able to talk with your parents who've been gone for quite a while. Do you glean anything new from those interactions? And also in that space, wherever they might be, is everything the same as they left it? Or is there any room for growth on their end?
I fully believe there's room for growth on the other side. When I try to just get in touch with them, I'm not asking them stuff.
Yeah.
I'll just say stuff about themselves necessarily. I'll just say, hey, does this seem like a good path that I'm on right now? Or should I be doing, just looking for some confirmation. But I definitely think there's growth on the other side. Now, my daughter has a friend who is like an off the charts medium. Like she has to flip the switch off or else she'll get physically harassed.
Yeah.
She's like somebody you'd see in a movie.
Whoa.
And she's helped me deal with sometimes talk a little more fully with my parents. And she said that my dad he's filled with regret about things, the way it happened with me and my mom and everything. And I've tried so hard to just put the forgiveness out there. It's like, I forgave you a long time ago. We're cool. Please forgive yourself. But I think he's stuck in that spiral right now. I think my mother, I could sense she's experienced a great deal of growth on the other side. My brother, he didn't have to do this whole living person thing that we've all had to do with the baggage. So he's just kind of out there, just kind of chill, hanging out, watching out for the family. Our friend had said she talked to him one time, literally talked to him. And he said he protects the family. That's his job. And he particularly watches over my youngest son, Christopher, who we think probably looks like him because Christopher doesn't look like anybody else.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I was like, I think Christopher looks like Kyle. So there's change to be had on the other side. There is change to be had.
The name Kyle, is that something you came up with on your own?
I figured it out because my birth name is Laurie Kim. It's named after both of my grandpas.
Okay.
And my one grandpa, Kyler, and my other grandpa, Lawrence and Kyler. So the minute I found out about Kyle, I said, oh my God, his name's Kyle. He's Kyler Lawrence. Because what else would they have done if had he been born, then called him Kyler Lawrence? Like I said, our friend, she's like, oh yeah, that's it.
Oh, well.
He knows his name.
Wow.
So I feel incredibly blessed to know him, to know his name, to be able to kind of hang with him, to have him around. One of my favorite shows, well, it's probably my favorite show of all time, is The Vampire Diaries. And I know it's meant for 18-year-old girls, but I don't care. And I've rewatched the show like 6 times. And there's a scene where one of the characters dies and his spirit goes to say goodbye to another character. And the other character doesn't realize it's a spirit at first because he looks just normal. And it's like, oh my God, you're dead. And every single time I watch that episode in that moment, I get this zap, this jolt. Because it's like my brother going, yeah, that's me. I'm there for you. I'm there for you. I'm right there. Every single time I kind of brace now for it. It's like, okay, it's coming. Boom. Yeah, they've zapped me before. My dad did this to me once. They try to share, they want you to feel their emotions. So we call it jumping you, which sounds aggressive, but they just kind of come in, oh, feel my emotion. And it's like just an overwhelm. That can be a lot. They don't really do that much anymore because it is kind of a lot.
Did you learn things about your parents that you wouldn't have known otherwise? That made things make sense a lot more?
I haven't tried to cultivate this ability to the point where I can sit and have conversations with them.
Sure.
It's more like, oh, are you guys here? Good. Thank you for being here. Do you think this is a good path for me? Yes. No. Yeah. It's more surface than that. Mm-hmm. And plus, the pain they went through in life, let's just wipe it. And let's not, I don't need to know anything I don't know already.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm good. And we're all good. And Dad's still processing some stuff, but that's his choice to do.
Right. It sounds that way.
Yeah, he's a lot.
I ask that because a lot of people, if they are given a gift like this, or their daughter's good friend has the ability to give them some answers, they might go looking for answers. And why did things have to be the way they were? So I just wanted to see if that,
I get that. I think that's valid to do that. I completely respect anybody who wanted to do that and to dive in and to get the actual yes and no questions of why this, why that. I am so content and happy with where I am right now. And I know that the journey was full of pain and suffering and garbage and slop, but so I wouldn't change it.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't serve a purpose for me. Now, if somebody else does it, go for it. But for me, it doesn't serve a purpose.
I bet that's good for some people to hear right now.
Well, I hope so, because I think
Yeah.
you should need to do what you need to do. I mean, they have their emotions and their opinions. My daughter and I were talking one time. She can sense, she's a medium as well. And we were just talking, and we were talking about my husband. And I was aggravated at my husband, to be honest with you. And we were just talking, and I said something, and she all of a sudden went, "Ooh, Grandpa's pissed." Like, yeah, yeah, Grandpa's pissed. So they're around and they're watching. And I think I told my husband that. I said, "My dad's pissed at you." So
Wow.
down the stairs.
Yeah. Yeah. Use the handrail.
Yeah.
I want to talk about your book because I talk to so many people who have a story inside of them. And maybe it is their story, or maybe it is something completely made up that they feel like they want to share with the world. But for whatever reason, they have convinced themselves that now is not the time, or they are not in a position to make that story happen. And you raised 5 kids, and then it sounds like before you started with the book writing, with the screenplay writing, you were working in the acting, you were exploring that, you were having fun with it, and then you wanted to tell stories in a different way, not just through you, but you wanted the stories to come from you. And that is something that so many people want. And a lot of people listening right now, they're like, oh yeah, if I could just find some quiet time, or if I could just this or that. I want to talk about the nitty gritty of when you decided to start actually putting words into your computer and having them come out of your head, and you saw them coming together into not only a chapter, but then a section of the book. How hard were you working? How excited were you, or daunted by the process at first and in the middle and then toward the end? What was it like?
Well, I learned never say, "Oh, I can't do that." I learned that first. It's when I was starting the pilot. It's like, I've never written anything in my life. What am I going to do here? And I just started, and I didn't know what it even was. All the kids, we used to joke that someday we would have a musical on Broadway about the family called Shea Moron. And I said, "Is this a musical?" And it's like, "No, it's not. It's a TV show, because it's going to continue and things are going to happen." The decision just to write something is probably the biggest thing. And then once you start, for me, it's like opening the floodgates. It just starts coming. And I can't write often enough. And with Marvin, that was daunting, because it's like, okay, I'm real comfortable with half-hour sitcom. Now, a horror movie. Okay, so that means I got to have a nice, clean ending and a story that goes bang and it ends. So that was daunting, but I just started writing. And a lot of people outline. I don't outline. I don't make notes. I just start typing. Thank goodness I'm not in the age of the typewriter, because that would be a disaster, because I can just say, "Oh, that scene doesn't work," or "that I've got to move that." Cut and paste is my best friend. You just start doing it, and you make time. There's never time. There's no time to do anything. Nobody has time, but we all have 24 hours. We all have the same amount of time. And everybody's got a story. Everybody doesn't have the ability to write their story, but you all have a story. So even if you're not the one to write it, somebody can write it. You know somebody who can write it. You can at least outline your story. And it might be a script. A book is writing from script to book is great. I highly recommend it for all the script writers. If you have a script, turn into a book. Now I have the IP on Baby Marvin and the script ready to go when we want to pitch that script. But it's just a matter of sitting down. I wrote the script for Baby Marvin, really good draft, in probably a month. And then once I had the script done and I decided to write the book was probably done, because I had like a 20,000 word script that I needed to make like a 75,000 word book. I probably did it in a month, because I at least knew where my story was, where it was going, and it was just a matter of fleshing it out. And I just would get in here and just hammer it out and just let the story come instead of trying to say, oh, they should do this. For me, the characters are just doing things and I'm just writing it down, watching them. Almost like if you're watching your favorite TV show and you're just trying to write down what they're doing. It's almost like that, this reel that goes in my head. So again, no outlines. That's me. Some people, they want to outline, they want to do all the things. Not me. Just start writing. And don't call yourself an emerging writer. You're an author. If you're writing, you don't have to have a published book or a publisher or this or that or the other. If you're writing, you're a writer. No emerging, no wannabe, nothing. I don't want to see that. I see that in profiles. I'm gonna fuss at him. Everybody.
Well, I'm on your website right now, and it's thelauriekirk.com. And that is where you can learn a lot about Baby Marvin. You can see some reviews. You can see your future projects. What have been some of the reviews that you've gotten that have stood out to you when people
I learned
have...
a new word.
Oh, cool. All right.
Unputdownable.
Unputdownable. Okay.
Yeah, I've seen that a couple times, and it's like, oh, that's great. I love that. That's a great word. My husband's mother, who's in her 80s, who bought the book, I think, just to be supportive, which I think's great, and I appreciate it. And she sat down to read it, and she said, I sat and I read the whole thing straight through. She said, I couldn't believe I was just going to read a little bit of it. And so the Unputdownable is my personal favorite. I like that one.
That's a pretty cool new word. Yes.
Dysfunctional horror. I like that one as well. And
Okay.
Because there's a lot about family and relationships, and plus it's got the 1968 vibe. It takes place just after Robert Kennedy was assassinated.
Okay.
And Marvin's mother's Kennedy obsessed.
Okay.
There's just a lot of kind of cool 60s stuff that's in it that I really enjoyed fleshing out.
You were in the 60s, but you were super young. So what did you do to prepare for all the details that were going to have to happen for you to really get it right?
When I first started to write the book, I wasn't sure what time period it was going to be in. I said, I know he's going to be a former child star, but of what sort? I didn't want him like a movie star or a TV. But I started looking up historical events, and I found President Eisenhower had Safe Driving Day in 1954. It was this campaign just to, make the roads safer, which, is a great thing to do. Why not? Just bring attention to driving safely. And I said, what if he had a spokesperson, a little child who was the face of Safe Driving Day? And I said, that's going to be Baby Marvin. His mother took him to an audition. She wanted to set him apart, so she took her lipstick. She drew 2 large dots on his cheek and one on his nose to make him adorable and just even more adorable. And so then he spent a year with the president. And the last section of the book is called This Is What Happened to Baby Marvin. And that's what the script is called, This Is What Happened to Baby Marvin, because he's like one of those deals where you're like, oh, you remember Baby Marvin? But yeah, I remember that. Whatever happened to him? And there you go. So that's how it started. I wanted a real event. So it's like 1954. Okay, he's 4. He's 18 in 1968. That's kind of a cool time to deal with. And I just like the vibe because of the 60s.
I love that. And where are you going from here? What's next for you?
Oh my goodness. My manager, James Moore, he's my publisher as well, Dark Anthem Press. And we're going to start shopping the script. I got a couple of other scripts. My scripts always deal either with twins or duality or a doppelganger, something like that. Because that's my brand. That's my wheelhouse. I know what it's like to lose something you didn't even know you had and how to recover from that. That's what I think I'm able to do well. And plus, I've raised twins, so I know what that's like.
Is this website, thelauriekirk.com, the best way to get in touch with you, see what you've got coming up in the future?
Sure, you can go there. You can buy the book from there. It's on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. I'm on TikTok and Instagram, the Laurie Kirk. I'm pretty easy to find. I think the links are on my website as well, because sometimes searching for people on social media is freaking impossible. You can never find them. So if you go to my
Yeah.
website, the links are there for all my socials.
Okay. Good deal. Well, is there anything we haven't talked about that you think is really important for listeners to hear from you today, or about what we have been talking about?
I would just say, if you've ever felt more alone than you think you should be, trust your instinct, because you might be a womb twin survivor. There's a lot of kind of a unique kind of PTSD that goes along with it that I want people to learn how to deal with. If any of this resonated with you, just go online, Google womb twin survivors. There's symptoms. It's not an illness, but you know what I mean. There's things you can look at to say, hey, this might be me. And there's just such healing to be found. And a lot of parents, understandably, if they know that they're pregnant with twins and one passes, they don't necessarily tell the surviving twin because they think it'll be hurtful to them. But yet that twin has had that loss and needs to heal from that. So I think it's important that they know. I would say that too. If you have had twins and lost a twin, be honest with that surviving twin when you believe they're able to deal with that information, because they have suffered that loss. You think they haven't, but they have.
That's fascinating perspective, and I appreciate you bringing that up. It's not the easiest thing to talk about, and I'm sure, having gone through it, it is easier now that you've gone through the healing process and you've taken it in to talk to other people and help them if they are willing to start their journey toward healing too.
Oh yeah, I'd love to talk to anybody who feels, if something resonates with you, a lot of times there's a reason for it. And I'd love to hear from people if they want to reach out. My email's on the website as well.
Laurie, thank you so much for being here, sharing your experiences and sharing your book with us. I know there are a lot of people who are looking for a new read, and this sounds like it's unputdownable.
It's unputdownable. I mean, that's what they say. It's not my word. I didn't even know it was a word. But yeah, it's a psychological horror thriller. It's great for summer read. So yeah.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for joining me today. And if you have an extra minute, I have a favor to ask. Some of you listen to this show on Apple Podcasts, and a lot of you I talk to are on Spotify or Amazon. I'd love it if you would take just a second to leave a rating or a review. It lets the platforms know that listeners are getting value from the show and suggest it to others who are interested in similar content. And as always, if you have a topic you'd like me to cover, a guest suggestion, or just general feedback, I'd love to hear about that too. Connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, or at ajoyfulrebellion.com.